answer them. I find it tedious
You're
sometimes.
still concerned about the safety of Uber?
Patni, can you face this way a little bit more?
Of course we're concerned about safety. That's our greatest concern. We are moving 20,000 people every day in the city of Ottawa. And you've got to realize that each and every one of those trips is important. Taxi drivers have typically worked 10 hours a day, and they've typically been working for us in the city of Ottawa for more than 20 years. The oversight and the burdens that we have in terms of GPS tracking, in terms of cameras, in terms of training, in terms of oversight by the unions and the code that we have, in terms of the bylaws, are incredibly high. And today, somebody is asking to reduce all those and do the same thing we do. And we're saying, how can you do that with a compromise on safety, let alone all the other issues related to the viability of taxi drivers?
What are your
Patni,
thoughts on
can
the
you
lack of
coexist
answering?
with
What
Uber?
are
Do
your
you
thoughts
think?
on the
Can
lack
you
of
coexist
answering
with
on-
Uber?
Of course. We have said right from the beginning. We have said right from the beginning, we're willing to coexist with Uber. Our concern is that you cannot have a watered down taxi system under the brand name of Uber and force all the other hardworking taxi drivers who followed the bylaws to meet a much higher standard. Those are two very unfair and uneven standards. And we just think that's wrong. And today, from what I've heard, everything I've heard tells me that councillors are quite aware of that.
So,
This is the staff recommendation. One assumes that the mayor knows what the recommendations are, approves it. What have your discussions been with him from last week?
So we've had some good discussions with the mayor. We've had some good discussions with each of the CPS councillors. In each case, what we've heard is that they understand that our taxi drivers have been in the city for many, many years. They understand that our requirements are very, very high. And they understand that there are issues with this current proposed staff structure. And they feel that it does need to be tweaked, it does need to be adjusted. And quite frankly, you know what we're asking for. We're only asking for 9 points, and they are very clear points. And many of the questions today were focused on that. So I find that CPS councillors actually are, shall I say, quite aligned with the same issues that we've brought up. And I have to tell you, it's not us telling them. Many of these issues were raised by them, and we concurred and said, yeah, absolutely, that's what we live with, and those are the issues.
Does the mayor support your 9 demands?
I would say so.
He said that in the meeting.
Well, the mayor is always very careful about what he says. This is a decision being made by CPS, and it's going to be recommended up to councillors. So I think the mayor recognizes, I suppose, that these are important issues. Well, the mayor is always very careful about what he says. This is a decision being made by CPS, and it's going to be recommended up to councillors. So I think the mayor recognizes, I suppose, that these are important issues.
you were saying that they will support, you will live by the bylaw adopted next week. Are you willing to make the same, compromise or the same engagement? Are you going to live by whatever the committee decides?
Well, if we get what we get, we would live by it. And keep in mind, we've been living by the bylaws for the last 60 years. We have never broken the bylaws. We have followed the rules based on what the city and the province have said. Every one of our drivers have followed those rules. So to ask us a question whether we would live by the bylaws is ridiculous. Of course we would live by the bylaws.
Even though the bylaw might not meet all your needs.
Of course, we have had many needs in the past. We've had many requirements in the past. This is a process that we interact with the city on. We ask them to change the laws, and we hope they change them. You're going to realize we've got 2,500 families that have invested their life savings in this trade, right? In a system that was designed by the city to be safe and with very onerous requirements. We've lived by those requirements. we'll continue to live by those requirements. Our drivers aren't going to go out and flip hamburgers all of a sudden. The companies have to live by them. The drivers have to live by them. We want customers to be safe in Ottawa. We just hope that the decisions that are made with regards to a new entrant are made with some caution, some deep thought, and some ability where the councillors can engage the staff to make changes that make sense. All we're asking